Hello and welcome to my winners and losers of E3 2019 video, where, you guessed it, we're going to be going through some of the winners and losers of E3 2019. So the way that this is going to work is that we're going to be breaking down each of the main conferences one by one, and then determining at the end, basically, whether they won E3 or lost E3. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's jump straight into it. The Microsoft conference for me was a little bit of a weird one, because although it was a decent conference overall and they announced quite a lot of stuff that looked quite appealing to me, on some level at least, it was just a situation where I was thinking they were showing a lot of third-party stuff, and a lot of stuff that I assume isn't just coming out on Xbox. There's always been an issue with the Xbox for me, where they've just never had enough exclusives to really warrant thinking of it as being my main console. It's annoying too because some of the services that Xbox provide, like the Xbox Game Pass, are appealing, but I just don't want to turn my Xbox on to look at it because I just don't see what the reason would be when I've got a PS4. So the first game that they showed that looked in any way appealing to me was The Outer Worlds, but I'm kind of going into this one really skeptically just because it kind of looks a little bit cheap. Like, some of the animation just looked really, off and a bit dodgy. And I know that it's sort of an indie game, but at the same time, you kind of nowadays expect a higher level of production value, even from an indie game. But the thing that keeps me holding on to hope, really, is that the fact that the developers of Fallout New Vegas are working on it. And that's one of my favourite Fallout games, so I'm keeping my eye on this one. But I'm kind of warily going into it. Don't know if I'll pick this one up on release. I'll probably wait for it to have a price drop even. But yeah, that's how I feel about that one. One of the next games they showed off that I know a lot of people are looking forward to is Cyberpunk 2077. Again, I'm kind of going into this one a bit apprehensively. I'm trying not to get onto the hype train for it. To be honest, these sort of first-person role-playing games like Fallout and Cyberpunk and, I don't know, Dishonored, that kind of thing, I'm not really into them massively anymore. So, although this one does look good, I just don't think it's for me. But at the same time, the gameplay trailer that they released quite a while ago did actually manage to get me a little bit excited for it. But I don't know, the fact Keanu Reeves is in it is quite cool. It looks good. Obviously it's well produced because it's by the same developers as The Witcher 3. So yeah, this is one where I'm kind of just waiting to see a bit more of it, and then maybe pick it up if it looks good. Easily the best game that Microsoft showed, at least in terms of the concept and the style of it and just the overall tone it had, for me, was an indie game called 12 Minutes, where you're basically stuck in a time loop and there's a killer coming into the house, and you have to, I'm assuming, get out of there and find out what's going on, but you obviously don't have the time to do that in 12 minutes, so with each loop you're having to find out new information and find new ways of hiding from this hitman that's coming in. And it looks really, really good. I'm probably not doing it justice in the way that I've described it, but it looks really interesting. I don't know whether what we saw of it was gameplay. I'm not even sure how the gameplay is going to work, but yeah, it looked really, really good, and I'm definitely interested in this. Definitely going to get this one. It looks amazing, to be honest. The new From Software game was also announced at the Microsoft conference, called Elden Ring, which I'm assuming is going to be like a Souls game, but all we saw was a CGI trailer, so it's kind of difficult to determine exactly what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that, but for now, I don't know, the CGI trailer didn't really do anything for me. I'm kind of just excited for it because it's a FromSoft game at this point. But yeah, excited for that. I'm looking forward to seeing more. I think it probably won't be out for a while, I'm assuming, seeing as they didn't show any gameplay. That's normally a good sign that it's not going to be out for at least another year. But I guess we'll see. Looking forward to seeing more of that one. It's after the announcement of Elden Ring that Microsoft actually started talking more about the services that they were providing in the future, and also a little bit about the new console. I'm a little bit disappointed with the fact that they didn't just do a full announcement of what the console was, like showing off what it looked like, showing off the interface as well as the specs and stuff like that. They basically just announced all the same stuff that Sony had already announced, and I feel like this was a real missed opportunity because Microsoft could have really gotten ahead here with the marketing of it. They really, I think what they should have done is they should have released the new Xbox this year to really get ahead of Sony. I'm assuming that the PS5 isn't going to be out probably until late 2020. So if the Xbox would have released this year, just think about the head start they would have had there. It would have been incredible. A lot of people would have got an Xbox that wouldn't normally have wanted one. So that's a little bit disappointing. Very disappointing how they didn't go into a bit more information. It's just that, you know, it's all the same stuff that Sony said, like it's got ray tracing, I think. It supports 8K. It's got a solid state drive. I don't know, it's just all the stuff that we've already heard, really. It's interesting, but they just didn't show anything when I really think they should have. They ended the conference with an interesting little game called Halo Infinite. I've not really been into the Halo series for quite a while now. I used to be a big fan when Bungie made them. Like the first 3 and ODST, incredible games. Really, like you sort of have to play them. They're sort of, I feel like that caliber of game where if you consider yourself to be a gamer, you need to have at least have given them a try. But yeah, the new Halo game looks alright, I guess. We didn't see any gameplay, we just saw a CGI trailer. It was announced that it was a release title for the new Xbox, which at least gives it that one solid system seller that we know about already, which is really a good thing, because I hate it when consoles come out but there's nothing to play on them. So at least with this we're guaranteed at least one game. So yeah, overall the Microsoft conference, I would say, was in the winner category. They had quite a lot of games to show off, even though I'm pretty sure most of them weren't Xbox exclusive. But that doesn't really matter, you know, like it's always good to have games that are on more than one system anyway, so I'm not really complaining too much. I just think that for the console to really take off, it doesn't just need the hardware and the power, it needs the games to back it up, because that's what sells the console. And I just feel like Microsoft and the Xbox team don't seem to understand that. They don't seem to be putting the focus on making games. And that's disappointing, because, like I said earlier, they've got some good services, like games, the Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that. The new cloud gaming thing that they're doing. All interesting, all stuff that's worth looking into. But if there's no games, what's the point, you know? The next conference was Bethesda's, and a lot of people are saying that this was one of the weaker conferences, and I'd probably agree with that, but I don't think it's the weakest conference. Purely because there were a couple of games shown here that did look quite good. Again, there's an issue with this year's E3 that's kind of stopping me from getting excited as much as normal. And I think that issue is purely the fact that we just didn't see very much gameplay. Like, all the major new announcements were just either cutscenes or CGI trailers, and I just can't get into the hype with that. I'm the sort of person that doesn't believe AAA game publishers. I don't believe that the CGI trailers that they create are representative of what the game's actually going to be like. So a lot of the games I'm just kind of thinking, yeah, but what do you actually do in the game? And that was my problem with Bethesda's conference, really. But anyway, let's talk about some games. So the first thing that they kind of went on about was the updates coming to Fallout 76. And with that, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. There's a new Battle Royale style mode, and they're adding like a expansion that actually has NPC characters with dialogue trees and stuff like that. All really good stuff, but it's just a situation where I think they're doing that way too late, you know? Like, that stuff should have been in the game before it released, not like a year after it released. And I just think it's too late. Like, I'm not going to get Fallout 76 at this point. Even if it got updated to the point where it became like a good game, I still don't think I would be into it. I'm just not willing to support that game just based on how they released it, I think. Because it's just a sham, to be honest. It's an outright sham. Moving on to something a little bit more positive, though, there was a new game announced by, I think, Tango Softworks is the name of the company. They're the people that made The Evil Within 1 and 2. So they've got Shinji Mikami involved, who obviously directed the first Resident Evil. So yeah, all high caliber people. And they're making a new game called Ghostwire Tokyo, which, again, I can't... It was a good trailer, a really good trailer. That I like the tone of it, I like the style that they're going for, I like the overall concept of it, but it's just a situation where I don't know what the game is. Like, the cutscene that they showed, or the CGI trailer, was really stylish and everything, really, like, intriguing, but I don't know what the game is. Like, I don't know whether it's like a action game, I don't know whether it's a straight up horror game, I don't know if it's third person, first person, I don't know what you do in it. So although it's intriguing, I just can't get into it all that much. Now, the next game that Bethesda talked about that I was interested in is probably the big one, and probably the main game that makes me think that Bethesda had a better conference than some of the other people, and that game's obviously Doom Eternal. Now, the thing is with this, like, yeah, it's good seeing more of Doom Eternal and everything, but at the same time, I already know what I'm getting myself into with Doom Eternal. Like, I'm already going to be getting the game, I don't need to see any more about it, I know what it is, I know that I'm shooting demons. I don't really need any more information about it, other than, like, the bits that I've already seen. So, Doom Eternal being a major focus of Bethesda's this year's E3 kind of just felt a little bit like they didn't have anything else to show, so they're just going to talk about Doom Eternal some more. But yeah, looks good, looks really good, obviously. I'm a big fan of Doom, a big fan of Doom 2016. Definitely going to be picking this up on day one. It's just that the fact that Bethesda was focusing so much on this particular game kind of just proves to me that they just didn't really have anything this year. So yeah, Bethesda's conference overall, despite having the couple of games that look good, I think Bethesda belong in the loser category this year. Just because the one new game that they announced that actually looks genuinely intriguing, which is Ghostwire Tokyo, they didn't actually show anything of. So just for that, really, I think they go in the loser category. So it's Microsoft winner, Bethesda loser at this point. Now we move on to what I consider to be the weakest conference of the entire lot, so you already know it's going to be going into the losers category, and that's Ubisoft's. So, the thing is with the Ubisoft conference, or Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce it, I've always pronounced it Ubisoft, so that's what I'm going to be saying. The thing is with it, it's plain and simple, they did not have a single game that appealed to me in any way. The only game that looked interesting in any context at all was the new Watch Dogs Legion. But the whole selling point of that was that you can, like, be any NPC. Like, any NPC can be playable if you recruit them. And there's, like, a storyline for every single character in the entire game and that sort of stuff that they were saying. But I just don't believe it. I believe that every NPC is going to be playable. If that's what they're saying, then fine, that might be true. But I don't believe that every single NPC in the game is going to have their own mission, and if they do have their own mission, they're obviously just going to be repeated missions, like, all the time. Like, it's going to get to the point where you're just doing the same mission over and over again, just to get more characters to play as. And they keep saying stuff like every NPC is, like, fully voice acted and stuff like that. And yeah, they all might be fully voice acted, but you're gonna be hearing the same voice actors for these NPCs. They've not literally gotten a city full of voice actors to voice every single NPC in the game. Like, you know what I mean? That's impossible. So I think that the way that they're sort of marketing this is a little bit dodgy to me. And with their history of lying about Watch Dogs, with the first Watch Dogs having better graphics in the reveal than it did in the final game, I just can't get into that. I just can't. I don't believe them, and even if I was to believe them, it's just not a game that appeals to me anyway. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Other than that, Ubisoft literally dropped the ball. They just had nothing, absolutely nothing. I feel like the one thing they could have done that would have appealed to me, that wasn't a new IP anyway, would have been a new Rayman game, or even just a port of one of the old Rayman games to the Switch or something. But they didn't even have that. So Ubisoft 100% in the loser category, and they were the worst conference for me personally. Just had nothing to show at all. The next conference was Square Enix's, and with this, I don't know what it is. Right. So the thing is with Square Enix's conference, I think they were just announcing too much, like too many mobile games, too many Final Fantasy games, and they just didn't really have that much that I was interested in. Again, it's probably the same situation with like the same problem that Bethesda had, the same problem that Ubisoft had. They just didn't really have anything to show that much. But obviously the one major thing that they did have was Final Fantasy VII Remake, which looks really, really good. I have never played a Final Fantasy game. Played a tiny bit of the original Final Fantasy VII, didn't like it at the time anyway. This was years ago, so maybe if I replayed it I would actually appreciate it. But yeah, that's my experience with Final Fantasy. Just the beginning of 7 and then turning it off. So yeah, the remake of 7 does look interesting to me, and I would be going into it not knowing anything about the story. So might be a good one for me to get into, to finally experience the iconic game that is Final Fantasy VII. And then obviously one of the biggest reveals, probably of the entirety of E3 to be honest, is the new Avengers game. Now with this, although like I am kind of hyped for it I guess, because I've been watching a lot of the MCU stuff recently, like only really got into that basically around the time Infinity War came out probably. But yeah, been watching a lot of them recently, so I'm kind of feeling the Avengers hype at the moment. But again, with this game, it's that same situation where I don't know what it is. We haven't seen gameplay of it. They didn't really do a very good job of describing what it was. So for me, I just can't get into it. I don't know whether it's like an open world, like Spider-Man PS4 style game. I don't know whether it's a more linear experience. So yeah, I just can't get into it at the moment. I need to see gameplay to really be able to say, yeah, that looks amazing, or no, it looks rubbish. This is kind of just in the middle at the moment for me. But yeah, still could be good. I'll be keeping my eye on it for sure. So Square Enix, I would say, to be honest, Square Enix is a difficult one because it's kind of in the middle. But because I don't really care about Final Fantasy, and because they didn't show anything much of the Avengers besides the CGI trailer, I just feel it has to go in the losers category, just because there was nothing that appealed to me, I guess. Which is obviously entirely just my opinion, it's not representative of what other people think. But yeah, Square Enix didn't do anything for me. I wasn't excited by anything that they showed particularly, to be honest. So yeah, Square Enix, loser category. On to the next one. The next conference is easily the best of the entirety of E3, and you obviously already know what it is. It's Nintendo's. Although they didn't knock it out of the park as much as I hoped they had, because they didn't mention Bayonetta 3, they didn't announce SNES games coming to the Switch, or like a Netflix app, or like themes or anything like that. I kind of wish they would have done more of a update to the software on the Switch, like the UI and stuff. But they didn't do any of that, but it was still a really good Direct in terms of all of the games that they announced. So first of all, we had Luigi's Mansion 3, which we saw a little bit more gameplay of. They went into a little bit more detail about it, and it just looks really good. It just looks... It's kind of unlike anything else, isn't it? Because it's almost like... I guess it's like a puzzle game. It's like a puzzle exploration game. But there really isn't anything else like it, and the amount of just charm that it has, it just looks incredible, and it's probably going to end up being a must-have Switch title in my opinion. The next game they talked about was Link's Awakening, the remake of the Game Boy title from about 30 million years ago. But yeah, that one, the remake of it looks really, really good. Link's Awakening was actually the first Zelda game that I ever played, so I'm probably going to get quite a lot of nostalgia from the remake of it, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a go. I never finished the original Link's Awakening, so a lot of it I'll be going into with fresh eyes. But yeah, really looking forward to it. To be honest, I've never really liked the top-down Zeldas, and I know that's probably a bad opinion to have, but I just can't get into them as anywhere near as much as the 3D ones. But yeah, this one, with it having the cutesy art style and having like more modern game design elements, I might be able to get into this one a bit more, and I'll definitely be getting it when it comes out. I'm pretty sure they also announced a release date for it, but I don't remember when that was, but still, it's always good when you get a release date for stuff. They then talked very, very briefly about Pokemon Sword and Shield. I know they did a more in-depth gameplay showcase in a Nintendo Treehouse event, but I've not watched that yet. Apparently it doesn't look very good, so I've heard. The thing is with Pokemon Sword and Shield, I feel like they should have done a lot more with it. It should have been the ultimate Pokemon game, right? It should have been a situation where there was every region in full 3D, full open world, every single Pokemon was catchable. Maybe even they could have done a situation where you could choose which region to start in, and that determined what starter Pokemon you got. They should have made all of the cities like way bigger in scale than they were in the original games. But they just haven't done it. They've basically made a game that looks like one of the 3DS Pokemon games, but it's on the Switch. Like, even graphically, it doesn't look particularly impressive to me. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older and getting out of the Pokemon games. But the last few Pokemon releases really haven't done anything for me. I think, I finished Pokemon X, but I didn't like it very much. I think that was the first bad one that I played. But then I played Sun and Moon, and didn't even finish it. Really didn't like them at all. So yeah, Pokemon's been going downhill for a while for me. And I was hoping that this was going to be the resurgence of it, but it just looks like more of the same. We then got some gameplay of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which looks really good. Never played an Animal Crossing game either. There seems to be a situation with this conference where they're announcing games that I've never played any of them. But yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons looks really good. This is going to be my first Animal Crossing game, so I'm excited to give it a go. I think some people are a little bit disappointed by the fact that it got delayed to March 2020. But I think if they need that time to make it into a better game, then go for it. It's not like we've not got any Switch games coming out. So yeah, if they need to delay it, delay it. Looks good. And I'll be picking it up in March. We then got the announcement that Banjo-Kazooie was coming to Smash, and of course this is massive news. I'm pretty sure that Banjo-Kazooie was what they wanted to put him into the original Super Smash Bros. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, I could be wrong. But that's what I've heard anyway. So the fact that he's finally in it in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is really good. Obviously, he's a character that's so intertwined with Nintendo's history, with the N64, that he's a perfect fit for Super Smash Bros. So I'm glad he's finally in it. And then we got the big announcement, and the one that caught me completely off guard. At the start of the reveal for the trailer, I didn't even know what it was. I stupidly was saying, like, is this Bayonetta 3? Because I'm an idiot. But yeah, as soon as you saw Link and Zelda there, and you saw more of the art style, I kind of got the idea of what it was. I actually thought what it was going to be is DLC for Breath of the Wild, but no, turns out they're doing a full-on sequel to Breath of the Wild, which, honestly, I was not expecting that. I'm so excited for this game, like, seriously, this has easily been the game of E3 for me. So yeah, even though we didn't see gameplay or anything, which is a bit hypocritical because I've been going on about that throughout this entire video, but I think just based on the fact that Breath of the Wild 1 was so good, you can get hyped about it just based on this cinematic trailer. Just because it's Nintendo, it's Zelda, it's Breath of the Wild, you know that this is going to be a quality title. So yeah, I feel like I'm justified in getting hyped for this one. So yeah, obviously with all of that, all of the new announcements, all of the new gameplay we saw at Nintendo's Directs, all of like the ports coming that just increase the value of the Switch, Nintendo are obviously in the winners category. And I would say they won E3 overall, by a long shot actually. The only other conference that was in any way even close to them is Microsoft's, but still, they're not on the same level. Nintendo blew everybody else out of the water, in my opinion. I do find it a real big shame that Sony weren't there, because they should have saved the Death Stranding trailer, they should have saved all of the new information about the PS5, and I'm sure that they've got some other stuff to show, you know, like, they must have some VR games coming out. They could have given us a new trailer for The Last of Us, they could have given us a new trailer for Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know, like, I just feel like Sony should have had a presence there, even if it wasn't a very big one. The fact that they've just completely dropped out of it and they didn't do a PSX thing either last year is a little bit disheartening. And the fact that the state of plays so far that they've been doing just really haven't been very good is it's just a little bit annoying, because obviously what they're doing here is because of the transition from PS4 to PS5, they don't want to announce anything too soon. And they, to be honest, probably don't have a lot to announce at this point. But still, I just feel like, even if it would have just have been them showing new trailers for stuff that's already announced, that would have been better than nothing. You know what I mean? You know, I think the one thing that I wanted from this year's E3 that just didn't happen is I wanted Sega to announce a new Super Monkey Ball. And I don't know why, but I kind of was hoping that they were going to, because it's been such a long time and it's been rumoured a little bit recently that they might be working on one. But yeah, that's a little bit disappointing, probably the one thing that properly disappointed me. I would love to see a new Super Monkey Ball on the Switch, that would be amazing. But yeah, that's the only thing that was like properly disappointing for me. Anyway, I've been talking for so long now that my voice is kind of going a little bit croaky, you might be able to tell. So yeah, I'm basically going to shut up now and ask you what you think. Who won and who lost E3? Which conference was your least favourite? Which one was your most favourite? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, you already know my opinion. So I guess until next time, bye!